What if Deku had the elements? Part 2. Now, before I do get into this video, I would like to shout out my editor's channel, Alpha Anime. He's just 300 subscribers away from getting 1,000, so I'd really enjoy it if you guys could go help him out. And now, let's get back into this what if. We cut to see Izuku and his classmates sitting in the Class 1A classroom with Izuku fiddling with a pencil. It was the middle of the day and everyone was bored. A very bland and boring English lesson was going on, and they really just wanted to get the day over with. Now, all of a sudden, the bell would ring, with some of them perking up, knowing that the next class could be something interesting. This is only their second day, after all, and their first day was just a quirk test. So, they might have something quite interesting on their second day here at the school. Now, the teacher would leave as they would hear running from down the hall. The entire class would get confused, just wondering where the hell was that running coming from. It was as if someone was late for work or something. Now, all of a sudden, the door handle would start to twist very violently as the door would slam open, revealing a very tall yellow figure. This, of course, would be All Might. Izuku would see All Might, and he doesn't know too much about these heroes. He doesn't know about All Might. Well, his mother has told stories of a very strong person like All Might, but he doesn't know he's like the number one hero and all. So the entire class would just start fanboying or fangirling about how All Might is in their classroom, how they get to talk to All Might or something, as All Might would just laugh as he'd say, "Haha, hello class, I'm your hero teacher. Now today, we will be doing a heroes vs. villains assignment. But you can't be heroes without your costumes," as he would click a big red button in his hand as the wall would start to transform, revealing many different suitcases, as these suitcases would then just have numbers on them, which would comply with the numbers on their desk. They would go pick it out, go to the changing room, and get changed into their respected uniforms. Izuku's uniform, you can imagine it however you want it to be. I don't really care. I don't really know how to describe it, basically. Now, Izuku would get down there just like everyone else, as All Might would start to explain the rules and how there's going to be a bomb and a couple people there. It's pretty organized. Now, from there, All Might would hold a lottery to see who would get paired up with each other. Izuku would be paired up with Bakugo Katsuki, while Ida and Ochako Uraraka would be paired up as well. Izuku would think nothing of it, as he would then just be standing there waiting for the 5 minutes to pass so he can go into the building. Izuku would be sitting there as All Might would then come over the intercoms saying that they can go into the building. Izuku would just nod his head as he would start to walk into the building, as he would hear running from down the hall. Izuku would have known Ida had a running quirk, seeing in the quirk testing that Aizawa did the day prior, so Izuku already knew it was Ida. Izuku would just wait for Ida to get there. As Ida turns the corner very fast, Izuku would send a massive amount of wind right towards Ida, which he wasn't expecting. This would knock him off of his legs as he'd start to fall over, as Izuku would jump right towards Ida, sending a flaming punch right to its stomach, as Izuku would then start to run out, as he would fill the lower levels with water, which would cause some of the doors to barely stay on their hinges, with them leaking water, as Ida would flow down throughout the building, as he would then go out the door that broke that was leaking all of the water. And now a quick ad break. into this what if. Izuku would have just flooded the building as he would reach the final floor, and if you're wondering where Bakugo is, he got swept out with the massive waves of water, just like Ida did, with Bakugo just sitting down at the bottom, being mad because he can't fight like how Izuku is. Izuku would then just find his way to the top as he'd slam open the door to see Uraraka smashing rocks and touching them so they're floating. Izuku would just laugh, thinking that she's not very smart, as Izuku would then touch the ground as a massive type of mud boulder thing would spew out of the walls, hitting all of the rocks in the air, as Uraraka's plan would go to waste, as Izuku would then jump right past her and touch the bomb, as All Might would come over the intercom, saying that the heroes won, as Izuku would walk back to the whole thing where All Might and the rest of his classmates were, as All Might would ask if anybody knew who the MVP of that fight was. Momo Yaoyorozu would raise her hand as he'd say it was clearly Izuku, showing he showed proper fighting skill and taking out his enemies quite quickly. All Might would then nod his head, saying that's correct, as he would then tell the next group of teams to go down and face each other. A week's pass as Izuku would walk into the classroom, as Aizawa would already be there. This would come as a surprise to Izuku, as Izuku would sit down, waiting for the rest of his class to get there, and once they did, Aizawa would tell them that they will be going to a place called the USJ, the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. The entire class would wonder what that is, as Aizawa would tell them they have two options. You can either put your PE uniform on or your hero costume on. You have 20 minutes to get on the bus. If you're late, you're going to be left here. The entire class would start to panic, thinking this is their one-time opportunity to go on a field trip, and so they would scramble to get either their PE uniform or their hero costume. Most of them would wear their hero costume, of course. Now, they would all get down there within 10 minutes, as they didn't want to be super late. So when they got down there, Aizawa would just tell them to get on the bus, as the bus would start to drive off. Now, when it get there, a certain hero would be waiting there for them. This hero would be the number 13 hero. She would, I think they said it was a she, I'm not sure. Somebody in my comments said that 13 was a she. It was confirmed by the creator. So Izuku would see 13 with Uraraka just fangirling in the background, as 13 would start to explain what they will be doing at this unforeseen simulation joint. Izuku would just be sitting there, not really caring, as once they did, they opened up the doors after finishing their explanation, as they would then see this huge place with 5 different zones. A water zone, and a couple other zones I can't really remember. Izuku would just be marveled at this huge, magnificent place, as Kirishima would start to talk about how huge this place is, as he would then say, "Whoa, they even have fake villains here? This place is awesome!" As Aizawa and 13 would both get a little confused by this, as they would look towards where Kirishima was looking, only for both of their eyes to widen, as both of them simultaneously would yell, "Those aren't villains! Class, stay back! 13, protect the students!" Aizawa would say that, as he would jump down and start to fight all of the villains. Izuku, having his fighting instinct, wouldn't just let his teacher go on and take on that whole horde by himself. He, of course, would want to help Aizawa out as much as possible. So Izuku would jump down as well, using his air to propel himself right towards Aizawa's location. Aizawa would look up to see Izuku, saying, "Damn it, Izuku, this isn't your time right now. I'm trying to protect you all." Izuku would just look at him like he was going to help him no matter what he did, with Aizawa just accepting the fact that Izuku's not going to care whatever Aizawa says. He's going to try to protect him as much as possible, though. Izuku would get down and start to help Aizawa defeat all of these villains. Now, 20 minutes would pass with them just beating on the villains, with Shigaraki getting impatient as he would yell for Kirigiri to open up a portal and bring out it as in the Nomu. The portal would open up as a giant purple bird monster would come out with a loud screech, as it would then jump right towards Aizawa and put its hand right on Aizawa's head, slamming him down into the fountain that was in the center. Izuku would jump right at the Nomu, sending a huge wave of water to try and make the bird distraught or confused. This, of course, would somewhat work, as Izuku would go in for a punch, as he'd punch the Nomu, but it would do nothing. Shigaraki would start to laugh as he'd say, "That bird was meant to kill All Might. No normal punch will ever hurt that thing. It has a regeneration quirk and some type of attack nullification quirk. There's no way you'll kill it." As Izuku would just say, "It's meant to kill All Might, huh?" As Izuku would then send one of his biggest fire attacks that he's ever mustered to do, as it would burn the entire Nomu to a crisp. Shigaraki would just wonder, "What? How? How the hell did you do that?" Izuku would just laugh, saying, "The Nomus, every time you put regeneration into it, doesn't matter. Fire is their biggest weakness. As long as the fire burns every part of their body and all their nerves, they'll never be able to regenerate again." Now, if you're wondering why Izuku was able to beat the Nomu, even though he's very strong, but the Nomu had super strength and regeneration, something that even All Might had trouble with. Now, if you remember in Season 2, in the Stan arc, you could see Endeavor easily defeating many of those low-tier Nomus that this USJ Nomu was. So, Izuku, of course, is going to be able to easily defeat this, having Izuku been trained for years. So Izuku would, of course, defeat this Nomu with Shigaraki and them leaving, as the entire class would just come up and thank Izuku, as many cop cars would pull up as they would start to take these villains away, as Izuku would just be thanked for his efforts, saving the class along with Aizawa, who was taken to the hospital to treat his head injuries, as he had some head trauma from being slammed down head first into the fountain. Izuku would just be thanked by the police and many heroes, as he would go back to UA, happy that he was able to help. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this second part of What If Deku Had the Elements. Make sure to go subscribe to Alpha Anime. Let's try to get him to 1,000 subscribers before November. I know it's the start of October, but he only has 300 subscribers to go, so let's try and help him with that. And yeah, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.